Since the dawn of our species, we have strived to explore our surroundings and discover the unknown. From early humans migrating out of Africa to crossing the Bering Strait, to Christopher Columbus crossing the Atlantic to discover the New World. But one of the last frontiers we have yet to explore is what lies beyond the clouds: space. When describing the vastness of our universe, the great Carl Sagan once said, "There is a wide, yawning black infinity. In every direction the extension is endless. The sensation of depth is overwhelming, and the darkness is immortal. Where light exists, it is pure, blazing, fierce. But light exists almost nowhere, and the blackness itself is also pure and blazing and fierce." It's been less than 500 years since Galileo proved that Earth is not at the center of the universe, and less than 100 years since we sent the first human to space. Today we have both governments and private entities vying to be the first to truly find their place in the stars. Some believe that the United States entities such as NASA and SpaceX are decades ahead of the European Space Agency and companies like Ariane Space. But is that true? Which one is leading humanity into the next era of space exploration? In this video, we're breaking down the differences and similarities between the United States and the European Union space programs, how they're built, what they've achieved, and most importantly, which one comes out on top. Let's start at the beginning. NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, was born in 1958, right in the heat of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. Its mission was clear: dominate space and beat the Soviets. It was funded heavily, fast-tracked into relevance, and just 11 years later, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon. The ESA, which simply stands for the European Space Agency, came much later. Officially formed in 1975, but its roots trace back to collaborative efforts from European countries in the 1960s. Rather than one country funding everything, ESA was built as a cooperative, an agreement among 23 member states pooling their resources. So already there's a big difference. NASA is centralized and singular. ESA is multinational and consensus-driven. That affects everything from budget to bureaucracy. When talking dollars, in 2024, NASA's budget was around $25 billion. ESA, about $8 billion. That's a massive gap. Well, NASA gets direct federal funding from the US government. ESA, on the other hand, gets contributions from each of its 23 member states, who decide what projects they want to support. That means less flexibility in their overall goals, but also more specialized missions. Due to the amount of members, ESA needs to balance the interests of Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and the other member countries. Every mission is a negotiation to determine the parameters and scope of what they aim to achieve, while NASA has full control over its operations. This allows NASA and the United States to cut down on bureaucracy. One of the clearest differences between NASA and ESA lies in the launch capabilities of each agency. NASA uses the Space Launch System, Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy via SpaceX and in the future, Starship. It has launch pads in Florida and California, and it's partnered with commercial companies to expand reach for future missions. ESA, it uses the Ariane series, most recently Ariane 5, now transitioning to Ariane 6, launched from the Guiana Space Center in French Guiana. Ariane 5 was incredibly reliable. 82 consecutive successful launches at one point, but it's expensive and slower to evolve. So while NASA has gone full throttle with commercial partnerships, ESA still favors in-house European solutions, even if it costs more or takes longer. Some argue that the ESA favoring state solutions versus third-party commercial outlets will put them years behind NASA, while others point out that using commercial companies like SpaceX or Blue Origin could result in lower quality standards, and the United States losing its autonomy of its space program. This is where NASA clearly pulls ahead. NASA is the only space agency, aside from Roscosmos, a state corporation of the Russian Federation, responsible for spaceflights, cosmonautics programs, and aerospace research, to put humans on the moon. NASA ran the entire space shuttle program, and today NASA astronauts regularly fly to the International Space Station aboard Crew Dragon spacecraft. ESA currently has no independent human spaceflight capability. European astronauts hitch rides with NASA or Roscosmos if they need to reach the International Space Station. ESA provides modules like the Columbus Laboratory on the ISS, but doesn't launch humans on its own. However, ESA did design the service module for NASA's Artemis missions. So, while it's not launching astronauts, it's a vital part of the machinery that could return us to the moon. The ESA provides most of its value through scientific missions. Many people don't know that ESA launched the Rosetta probe that landed on a comet in 2014. It also operates the Gaia Observatory, mapping over 1 billion stars with unprecedented precision. There's also the Bepi-Colombo mission to Mercury with an expected arrival date from December 5, 2025 to November 2026. NASA, of course, also leads in science. Voyager, Hubble, Curiosity, Perseverance, Parker Solar Probe, and James Webb. All NASA missions, often in collaboration with ESA. In fact, ESA was a major partner on James Webb. It provided the Ariane 5 launch and 2 key scientific instruments. So, when it comes to robotic exploration, it's not a competition, is it? It's collaboration. NASA's partnership with SpaceX changed everything. By funding commercial launches and cargo missions, NASA created a booming private sector in space. Now we have Blue Origin, Rocket Lab, and others entering the scene. ESA has been slower to commercialize. It relies on Ariane space, but doesn't have an equivalent to SpaceX yet. Companies like PLD Space in Spain and Rocket Factory Augsburg in Germany are emerging, but they're not at the same scale. Innovation-wise, NASA's ecosystem is faster and risk-tolerant. ESA is more methodical, more focused on long-term precision science than rapid iteration. Some argue that the commercialization of spaceflight will cause affordability issues for your average person, while billionaires have the luxury of frequent trips and an escape from problems unique to Earth like climate change. The hope is that with the investments currently being made in the commercial sector of space, future space travel will be inexpensive and available to all. There's also a philosophical divide. NASA operates as a national symbol. It reflects US ambitions, national pride, leadership, and dominance. When NASA lands a rover on Mars, it's a geopolitical message. ESA operates on cooperation. It's less flashy, more diplomatic. It sees space as a shared frontier that can slow things down. But it also builds deep international ties. ESA doesn't care about planting flags. It cares about data, discovery, and collaboration. So, who comes out on top? If we're talking about budget, manned missions, and commercial innovation, NASA wins, hands down. But if the measure is scientific precision, global cooperation, and long-term sustainability, ESA is right up there. Ultimately, they're not rivals. They're partners with different strengths. NASA builds rockets that get us to the moon, while ESA builds instruments that tell us what's waiting when we get there. The future of space isn't about who wins. It's about who works together to push humanity further. And in that race, both NASA and ESA are essential. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for future deep dives into space, technology, and our place in the universe.